The Blackwell estate loomed like a tombstone carved for empires. Its Gothic columns were drenched in moonlight, the garden wild and unkempt, a perfect metaphor for the empire Lucian had ruled, beautiful but sick beneath the surface. He stood in the doorway like he never left it, dressed in a deep charcoal suit, his left arm bandaged from the slash Liam had given him, a new scar just beginning to bloom across his jaw. But that smirk, it hadn't changed. It was the same arrogant, haunting curl that promised violence behind silk. Emily and Liam didn't flinch. The wind whipped around them, dust from the estate's long-abandoned driveway curling in the air like ghosts. Emily's gun was already in her hand. Liam had his down by his side, but his stance was rigid, ready. "Welcome home," Lucian said, voice smooth as Scotch and twice as dangerous. "You're right on time." Liam didn't answer. He just walked forward, each step echoing across the stone path. Emily followed, her eyes locked onto Lucien's every move. This was it, the end game. Either they buried the devil tonight or joined Tyrell in the dirt. Lucien stepped back, arms open in mock invitation. No guards, no traps, just a little family reunion. Emily's finger hovered near the trigger. "You killed Tyrell." Lucien's smirk widened. "Correction. I reminded you who's in charge. And Tyrell? He was a means to an end, always too loyal, too predictable." Liam's voice was gravel. "You shouldn't have done that. Oh, Liam." Lucien turned slightly, walking backward down the corridor like he owned time itself. "I've been doing things I shouldn't for a very long time, and still no one has stopped me." Emily's pulse pounded. The mansion's interior was untouched by the firestorm he'd unleashed elsewhere, a twisted sanctuary preserved while everything else burned. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above them. Gold-veined marble floors gleamed like nothing ever crumbled. Lucien's arrogance made her stomach twist. "This place," Lucien said, gesturing around them, "was never about luxury. It was about legacy, about power. You think burning my empire changes anything? The empire isn't the buildings, Carter, it's me." "You're delusional," Emily muttered. "No," he said, stopping in the grand foyer beneath a massive staircase. "I'm eternal." Suddenly, steel doors slammed shut behind them. A heavy clunk echoed, locking the estate down. Emily and Liam both turned, too late. From the shadows above, red laser sights flickered on. 10 snipers aimed down from the second-floor balconies. The air became deathly still. Liam froze. Emily raised her gun, but her hands tightened. One wrong move and they'd be paint on the marble. Lucien raised his hands lazily. "I said no guards, but I never said no eyes." Liam gritted his teeth. "You want us dead? Do it right here. But you know what happens after. The rest of the world turns on you. The Blackwell name dies." Lucien chuckled. "Oh, Liam, you really think this is about the name? I buried the Blackwell name when I buried our father." Emily blinked. "You what?" Lucian turned, meeting her eyes. "You thought that heart attack was natural. Please, the man was going to sell half the company to foreign investors. I couldn't let that happen." Liam's face went pale. "You murdered our father." Lucien's gaze was steady, cold. "No. I corrected his mistake. He was weak, like you. Like her." He nodded toward Emily. That was it. Liam lunged forward with a roar. Emily moved just as fast, ducking behind a pillar as gunfire erupted above. Lucien didn't flinch as bullets sprayed overhead. His guards weren't aiming to kill. Not yet. They were herding them, playing with them. Liam tackled Lucien to the ground again, fists flying, rage uncontained. This time there was no witty back and forth, no taunts. Just violence. Years of pain, betrayal, and blood spattered across the floor in every strike. Emily fired at the snipers, 2 of them ducking, another taking a bullet to the neck and toppling. Over the balcony, Lucien fought back like a man with nothing left to lose. He drove his elbow into Liam's jaw, then flipped him over, straddling him and pressing a knife to his throat. Emily aimed. "Don't!" Lucien barked, "or he bleeds." "Out right here." Emily froze, her heartbeat thundered in her ears. Liam's eyes were wide but calm. He didn't speak. Didn't plead, just stared at her, trusting her. Lucien's voice was pure venom. "I didn't bring you here to kill you, Carter. I brought you here to offer you everything." "What?" Lucien sneered. "Tyrell was the price, but you, Emily Carter, you're the future." She didn't lower the gun. He continued. "You think I don't know what you are? You wormed into Tyrell's systems, turned Evelyn against me, brought down my network, but you didn't destroy it. You became it. You're like me." "I'm nothing like you," she hissed. "But you could be." Emily's hands trembled, rage curling in her gut like acid. "You killed the only man I ever trusted," Lucien nodded. "And I did it to free you." Liam moved, fast. His hand shot up, grabbing Lucien's wrist, slamming the knife into the floor beside him. Emily fired. The bullet caught Lucien in the side. He howled in pain, rolling off Liam. Blood sprayed the white marble like ink on canvas. Emily rushed over, kicking Lucien's knife away, then yanking Liam to his feet. "We finish this," she gasped. Lucien groaned, crawling backward, one hand over his bleeding side. "You don't understand." "No," Liam growled. "We finally do." Then he raised his gun and fired. Lucien's body jolted. Once, twice. He collapsed backward, blood pooling beneath him, his mouth open in shock. Silence. The estate went still. Then, slowly, the sniper lights vanished one by one. Emily knelt beside Liam, her hand clutching his arm, her chest heaving. They waited. Lucien didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't smile. He was gone. But neither of them relaxed. Because men like Lucien Blackwell didn't just die, they echoed. The silence after Lucien Blackwell's death was too clean, too final, like a curtain dropping after a performance that wasn't quite finished. Emily stared at his body. Blood oozed slowly from the bullet wounds, spreading like ink through the pristine marble. His eyes, once alive with cunning and cruelty, stared blankly at the chandelier above, lifeless. But Emily didn't move. Her finger still hovered near the trigger, breath sharp in her lungs, heart pounding like it was waiting for him to rise again. Liam finally exhaled, stepping back, his hands shaking. "He's dead." Emily didn't answer. She needed to believe. It too. Liam turned away, scanning the room, gun still raised just in case. "Snipers are gone. The place is locked down, but we're alone." "No," she whispered, finally lowering her weapon. "We're not." Liam's head turned sharply. "What do you mean?" Emily stood slowly, every part of her body tense. He had more than soldiers, he had systems, a network we never touched. If he planned to die here, Liam's face paled, then this is the beginning of something worse. They turned as one toward Lucien's body, and Emily crouched beside it. She searched him, jacket, pockets, inner lining. And there, hidden in the hem of his sleeve, was a drive, no bigger than a coin. She held it up. It was black, unmarked, but warm to the touch. Encrypted. She didn't even have to plug it in to know what it was. "Failsafe," she said. "Dead man switch. If he didn't report back, this thing activates." Liam clenched his fists. What would he have left behind? Emily stood. Information. Leverage. Maybe even targets. They had to get out. Now. Minutes later, they were back in the SUV, the estate shrinking behind them like a memory. Best buried. Liam drove fast, his jaw set, his knuckles white on the wheel. Emily sat beside him, staring at the drive in her palm like it might start ticking. Tyrell was dead. Evelyn had vanished after Lucien's initial betrayal. Radio silence as if she'd seen the end coming and wanted no part of it. Now it was just the two of them. "You think this drive is enough to end it?" Liam asked quietly, eyes fixed on the road. Emily didn't answer right away. She turned the drive over in her fingers. "No," she said, "but it's enough to find out what's coming." They reached a safe house, one of Tyrell's old locations, just after midnight. Hidden beneath a crumbling bookstore, it was little more than concrete walls and a few patched-together computers, but it was secure. For now. Emily hooked up the drive, and the screen flickered to life. Encryption. Deep. Government grade. But Emily was already breaking it. Her fingers danced across the keyboard, sweat beading on her brow. Code flashed, defenses flared, but she cut through them like knives through silk. And then, the screen changed. Liam leaned in. "What is that?" Emily's breath caught. "It's a map." Dozens of red markers dotted the globe. Some blinked, others pulsed. "Locations," she said. "Storage sites, data dumps, contacts, names." He didn't just build an empire. He built a backup empire, one that activates after he's gone. Liam's mouth tightened. "And they all think he's still alive." Emily nodded slowly. "Unless we stop it, Lucian Blackwell will live on in pieces, through proxies, through tech, through war." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Liam said, "So what's the plan?" Emily stared at the screen, jaw set. "We hunt every last piece of him, burn it to ash." She reached forward and clicked on one of the pulsing dots. A location. Loaded. Zurich. A vault. First on the list. "I'll need help," Emily said. "More than just us." Liam nodded. "I'll call in what's left of Tyrell's contacts." Emily's lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. "And I'll wake some ghosts of my own." The war wasn't over. Lucian Blackwell was dead. But his legacy had just declared war. The cold in Zurich cut sharper than any knife. Thin, snow flurried in the air as Emily stepped off the train, the brim of her black coat low over her eyes. The city was all glass and silence, like it never heard of chaos. But she knew better. Liam joined her on the platform, a duffel slung over. One shoulder, his expression hard. His face still bore fading bruises from the last battle, constant reminders that they weren't just chasing ghosts. They were chasing bombs with countdowns they couldn't see. "I hate how normal this place looks," he muttered, pulling. His coat tighter. Emily gave a dry smile. That's why Lucian picked it. They took a quiet car to the city's financial district. No one spoke. No one stared. Zurich was discreet like that, the kind of place where secrets were locked, behind glass, steel, and money, and no one asked what was buried beneath. The vault was beneath a luxury bank, Debrecht and Müller. Ancient name, Digital Mind. Lucien's marker placed it 3 floors down, behind biometric locks and pressure-sensitive corridors. Of course. "We can't go in loud," Liam whispered. As they crouched behind a parked truck, watching the entrance from across the street. Too many eyes, too many consequences. Emily's eyes didn't leave the bank. "We won't. We go in with an appointment." Liam raised a brow. "You got a client name?" She gave a tiny smirk. "I made one." They entered the bank 15 minutes later, dressed as high-rolling fund managers. Emily's fake ID was perfect. So was the forged wealth portfolio. The receptionist didn't blink. Money talked, especially in Switzerland. "Ms. Calderon," the man said, glancing at his screen, "your vault is ready." The elevator was silent, too silent. As it sank, Emily's pulse climbed. She wasn't afraid, not exactly. She was focused. That dangerous razor's edge where any wrong step could flip them from guests to targets. The door slid open. The vault level was all polished marble and hushed footsteps. A single attendant waited to escort them to their private unit. The walk felt eternal, too calm. The hallway was lined with locked compartments, each holding the secrets of the elite, criminals, and kings alike. Vault number 918. The attendant unlocked it, stepped aside. "Take your time," he said in crisp English, then disappeared like a well-trained ghost. Inside the vault was a sleek case, matte black, sealed with Lucien's personal encryption. Not just thumbprint, retina, pulse, and voice scan. But Lucienne was dead, which meant this vault shouldn't open, except Emily already had a back door. Her fingers flew across her portable decryptor, mimicking Lucien's biometric data, pulled from medical archives and surveillance tapes she'd hacked from old files. The case clicked open. Inside was a single tablet and a stack of files. Liam leaned in. "What the hell?" Emily scanned them quickly. Names, dates, payment records. This wasn't just a list of operatives. It was blackmail. Tied to politicians, military heads, CEOs across Europe. He had leverage on everyone, Emily muttered. This is how he stayed untouchable. It's not just money, it's secrets, scandals, hidden crimes, entire careers bought and controlled. Liam pulled out a file and flipped through it. This guy runs a NATO security firm. Exactly. Emily stared at the tablet. It had one message flashing on the screen. If you're reading this, I'm already gone. But I promise I didn't leave you alone. Her blood ran cold. Liam saw her face pale. What does it say? Emily handed him the tablet. Lucian knew we'd come here, she said. He built this place as bait. Before Liam could react, the lights flickered. Then everything went black. A sharp hiss, then a pulse, like a shockwave. The vault door slammed shut. Emily's ears rang as gas hissed from the ceiling. Move! She shouted, grabbing a flash grenade from her bag and hurling it into the corner. The small explosion blew a vent loose. They scrambled, Emily pushing Liam up first. He shoved the vent open and hauled her after him just as the vault filled with choking gas. Lucian hadn't left a trap. He'd left a message. They crawled through the vents until they emerged in a service hallway. Sirens were blaring now. Emergency evacuation protocols, but too late to matter. Outside chaos reigned. But Emily wasn't shaken. She clutched the files against her chest like they were fire. She didn't need all of them. She only needed one, name, because Lucian Blackwell had partners, and the next one on the list was still alive, still operational, and very much aware that Emily Carter had declared war. They were on a private jet by sunrise. The files Emily salvaged from Vault No. 918 were spread across the small fold-out table between her and Liam, lit by the soft overhead light. Pages redacted in black, faces circled in red ink, payment trails snaking through dummy companies in Dubai, Seoul, São Paulo. Every name reeked of rot, but one stood out. Victor Drajan. Emily tapped the folder with the tip of her pen. This is our next move. Liam raised a brow. Arms broker, Balkan connections, ties to Lucien going back 2 decades. Thought he went dark after the Sarajevo incident. He didn't go dark, Emily muttered. Lucien buried him beneath new identities. She flipped the page. Name he uses now is Arik Dalka, runs a private security firm out of Bucharest. Legal on the surface, but we both know Lucien's fingerprints were all over it. Liam's eyes narrowed. You think he's Lucien's replacement? No, Emily said, eyes cold. I think he's the one pulling strings now. Lucien wasn't the final boss, Liam. He was the mask. A long silence. Then Liam leaned back, running a hand through his hair. So we kill Drajan and what? Expect the whole thing to collapse? No, she said. We don't just kill him, we expose him. She turned the tablet toward him. Lucien's files decrypted now, the names highlighted one by one. We drop this on every secure line we have. CIA, Mossad, Interpol, we burn the spider web. But first, we torch the spider. Liam gave a dry smile. You've changed. Emily didn't blink. Lucien changed me. They landed in Romania just after nightfall. Bucharest was buzzing beneath a winter sky, the air sharp with frost. Drajan's compound was outside the city, remote, fortified, surrounded by woodland. Tyrell had once told Emily, if you want to break someone with power, don't shoot them, strip them. So they weren't going in with guns blazing. They were going in like ghosts. Emily had already rerouted a dummy delivery through one of Drajan's subsidiary shipping companies. She and Liam rode in the back of the armored truck, dressed as logistics crew, the real team, drugged and stashed. In a storage unit miles away, security barely blinked as they rolled through the front gate. Inside, the compound was all modern steel and mirrored glass, a fortress pretending to be a business. But Emily saw through the polish. Lucien's design echoed here. Corridors that doubled as traps, cameras hidden behind art, guards with mirrored visors so no one could read their eyes. They were ushered into the loading bay. 15 minutes, Max, Liam whispered as they stepped off the truck. We find his office. We plant the data leak. We ghost out. Emily nodded, hand brushing the edge of her weapon, just in case. They moved like shadows through the service tunnels, bypassing security checkpoints with cloned badges Emily had forged mid-flight. She knew Lucien's infrastructure. And Drajan? He'd just inherited the same flaws. They reached the private suite above the main offices, Drajan's lair. Liam cracked the door. There he was. Victor Drajan, grey-bearded, stocky, face like a wolf carved from concrete. He was alone, sipping black coffee, eyes locked on a wall of screens showing stock prices, weapons manifests, global conflicts like chess moves. And then he spoke without turning. "I was wondering when you'd come." Emily froze. Liam cursed under his breath. "You've got eyes?" Emily asked, stepping in, gun raised. Drajan smiled without warmth. "Lucian told me all about you, said you were relentless, dangerous, predictable." Emily moved closer. "Lucian's dead." "I know," Drajan said. "That's why I'm here." He turned to face them fully now, no fear in his eyes. He prepared for this. You killing him. That was his choice. His martyrdom. Liam's voice cut through like ice. "He wanted to die." Drajan nodded. "He wanted to evolve. He knew you'd burn his empire, so he scattered the pieces. And now we rebuild. Smarter, meaner, global." Emily stepped forward, gun leveled. "Then you'll die too." But Drajan just smiled again. "You really think this ends with me?" He tapped his desk. The screens changed. One by one faces appeared. Young, trained, ruthless, new heirs, new Blackwells. Lucien hadn't built a dynasty. He'd built a virus. "Kill me," Drajan whispered, eyes gleaming, "and 10 more take my place." Emily stared at the screen, bile rising in her throat. Liam looked at her. "What now?" Emily didn't lower the gun. She just whispered, "We burn the whole goddamn bloodline." Victor Drajan lay slumped over his desk, a single bullet lodged in the center of his skull. Emily didn't blink. She watched the blood creep across the polished wood like it was ink, just another signature in Lucien's ledger, now crossed out. Liam stood behind her, breathing hard, jaw clenched. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. Because this kill wasn't about justice, it was about message. They weren't taking prisoners anymore. Emily reached over Drajan's corpse and tapped the command key on the tablet he'd shown them. The screen blinked, prompting a password. She didn't need one. Her decryptor already had Lucian's failover protocols. She forced the system open. The screen exploded with data. Faces, videos, blueprints. 48 names, hand-picked, recruited, trained. Every one of them had passed through one of Lucien's facilities, private schools in Africa, false adoption programs in Russia, cyber recruitment, networks buried in defunct gaming platforms. It was grooming on a scale Emily had never imagined. She whispered, "He didn't build successors." Liam leaned closer. "He built soldiers." She nodded slowly. "No. Worse, he built believers." They downloaded everything. When they left the compound, they didn't sneak out. They walked, bold, unafraid, on camera. Emily wanted them to see her face. She wanted Lucien's network to know she was coming, one by one, until there was nothing left of him but ash. Back at the safe house in Istanbul, they spread the files out again. Every new name had a dossier attached, codenames like Osprey, Cain, Red Hydra, Seraph. Liam stared at one of the profiles. A girl, 17, North American accent, military training, psychological report flagged for 0 empathy. She was marked ready for deployment. "These aren't just kids," he muttered. "They're weapons." Emily sat across from him, her fingers steepled beneath her chin. Lucien turned orphans into killers, dissidents into loyalists. He wasn't building power. He was building control. She flipped to a page labeled Project HEIR, Human Enhancement, Indoctrination and Reprogramming. A ghost of a chill ran down her spine. This is what they were. Trying to accuse me of. Liam looked up, stunned. Emily nodded. The corporate collapse. The child experimentation scandal. Lucian didn't frame me for something random. He pinned me for this, because if it came out that he was behind it. "He'd burn," Liam finished quietly. Emily's eyes darkened. "But now he's dead, and the lie lives on. The world still thinks I'm the monster." Liam pushed the files aside. "Then we show them the real one. The next few days blurred. They bounced between safe houses, Amsterdam, Prague, Kiev, digging into every node of Lucian's leftover empire. Emily's face became a ghost on security cameras, her fingerprints scrambled by tech Tyrell had once developed. Liam used his Blackwell name like a battering ram when needed, pulling strings and calling in favors from those who hated Lucienne as much as they did. And then they found it. One name, one facility, the farm. Not listed on any official registry. Hidden deep in the Caucasus Mountains. Former Soviet structure. Now a training site for Lucien's elite recruits. All roads pointed there. "You think one of them is running the program?" Liam asked as they stared at the satellite image. Grey. Buildings cloaked in snow, fences humming with electricity. Emily didn't blink. "I think Lucien made someone worse than him." They were airborne within hours. Their team this time was lean. 5 mercs pulled from Tyrell's old contacts. Loyal, brutal, untraceable. Emily didn't trust anyone else. Not with what was waiting in that mountain compound. They dropped in at dawn, cold air slicing their lungs, snow up to their knees. From the ridge above the facility, Emily pulled binoculars to her eyes. Guards in black armor, sniper towers, dog patrols, but no children, only soldiers. "This isn't a training ground," she said. Liam lowered his rifle, scanning with her. "Then what is it?" She exhaled. "It's deployment." They moved in at nightfall, fast and silent. Emily disabled cameras while Liam and the others cut power. By the time the first alarm rang, they were already inside. The compound was worse than they imagined, hallways lined with observation cells. Each one filled with files, videos of training sessions, brainwashing lectures, combat footage. But no students, no bodies, only silence. They reached the central control room, and Emily hacked into the mainframe. The system wasn't just storing data, it was streaming it to a location they hadn't seen before. She zoomed in. Liam squinted at the screen. "Where the hell is that?" Emily stared, ice prickling her skin, because the coordinates didn't point to a military base. They pointed to a hospital in New York City. New York was too loud, too alive. After the cold silence of Zurich, the shadowy isolation of Romania, and the sterile horror of the farm, it felt wrong to walk beneath glowing billboards and sirens, and steaming manholes, as if nothing was on fire, as if the world hadn't already begun to rot. Emily pulled her hood low as they approached the hospital's rear entrance. A run-down pediatric facility on paper, privately funded, long forgotten in a Brooklyn industrial district where no one asked too many questions. But it wasn't just a hospital. It was the hub. The place where Project HEIR had rooted itself into American soil. "They've gone quiet since we accessed the farm," Liam whispered, as they approached a back door guarded only by one sleepy rent-a-cop in a folding chair. "No alerts, no retaliation. That worries me more." Emily nodded. "Because they're not scared. They're waiting." They didn't bother with subtlety this time. A single chokehold, a silencer pop, and the guard slumped forward. They moved in fast. Inside, the hospital looked like any other aging medical facility, flickering fluorescents, yellowed tiles, the faint smell of antiseptic and mildew. The walls were lined with peeling posters about child nutrition and trauma counseling, but beneath it all ran fiber cables too advanced for any normal clinic. The elevator to the basement had a retinal scanner. Emily overrode it in seconds. The doors opened with a hiss, revealing a long white corridor. And silence. "I don't like this," Liam muttered, hand tight on his gun. They stepped out, no guards, no cameras, no signs of life. Then they heard it. A hum. Faint. Mechanical. They followed it, their footsteps the only sound in the sterile tunnel. Until the hallway opened into a wide chamber, and what they saw stopped them both cold. There were children. Dozens. Not in cells. Not in cages, in classrooms, silent, focused. Eyes fixed on large digital boards playing propaganda so subtle it would pass as math drills and memory exercises, but Emily recognized the code layered beneath it, Lucienne's conditioning software. She pressed a hand to the glass, eyes wide. These kids weren't being trained to fight. They were being taught to lead, to replace, to inherit. They didn't even know it. They're building a generation, she whispered, invisible, polished, ready to step into power the moment they hit adulthood. Liam's jaw clenched, and the world will never see it coming. They moved fast now. Every level deeper revealed more horrors. Labs, records, full genetic blueprints cross-referencing the kids' capabilities, their tolerances, their bloodlines. Every child had been selected, their traits analyzed and enhanced. Nothing was random. Not even their names. And then they found her. Room 7B, glass window, a single bed. A girl about 12, sitting cross-legged, reading a physics textbook like it was a fairy tale. Her hair was ink black, her posture perfect. The nameplate on her file said, Subject E. C01. Liam frowned. Carter? Emily's breath stopped. She snatched the folder and flipped through the documents, then froze. DNA scan. Partial match. Blood type. Identical. Retinal profile. 87% match. The girl inside looked up at her through the glass, calm, unblinking. You have a daughter, Liam whispered, stunned. Emily backed away slowly. No, she said, her voice hollow. Not like this. She's you, Liam said, or a version of you Lucienne tried to replicate. The file confirmed it. Subject E, C01, created from stolen medical samples, an experimental clone, engineered to inherit Emily's intelligence, her instincts, but loyal to Lucienne. A mirror, but controlled. The girl tilted her head, watching them. No fear, no curiosity, just calculation. She doesn't know who she is, Emily whispered, but she would, and when she did, she'd either become the weapon Lucienne intended, or something worse. Liam turned to her. What do we do? Emily looked back through the glass. She didn't answer, because for the first time since Lucienne died, she wasn't sure. The girl blinked once, slowly. Then she smiled. It wasn't the smile of a child. It was restrained, practiced, chilling. The way Lucienne used to smile when he already knew how the story ended. Emily's blood turned to ice. She knows, she whispered. She knows exactly who she is. Liam stepped back, shaking his head. You think she's self-aware? Emily nodded slowly, eyes still locked on the glass. She's not just some clone they kept dumb. Look at her posture, her hands. She's been taught restraint, groomed for politics, not warfare. Then she's Lucienne's final heir. Emily felt sick. EC01. She wasn't just another subject. She was the template, the beginning, the seed. Lucienne had made his fortune on control, of money, governments, people. But with her, he'd gone one step further. He'd tried to control legacy, not through influence, not through bloodlines, through replication, through her. And it had worked. The girl stood, walking toward the glass. She tilted her head, then placed her hand on the window, right over Emily's. There was no fear in her eyes, no warmth either, just cold curiosity. Then, a small speaker embedded in the wall crackled. A voice echoed through it, distorted, but familiar. Lucienne, if you're hearing this, the recording began, then congratulations, Emily, you made it to the end, or the beginning. That depends on how you define survival. Emily's jaw clenched. I knew you'd come here eventually, and I knew you'd find her. The girl's lips curled into a faint smirk. She's what you could have been, you know, without fear, without guilt, without weakness. She doesn't need to question herself. She is herself, perfect, efficient, loyal. Emily stepped away from the glass. She's not loyal to you anymore, she hissed at the speaker. The voice laughed softly. Isn't she? Ask her who she'd choose, the flawed original or the man who made her more. Liam raised his weapon. Let me end this. Now, before it's too late. No, Emily snapped. Not yet. Liam looked at her like she was insane. You don't actually believe she can be saved? Emily looked into the girl's eyes. She saw something flicker there. Something new. Not loyalty. Not programming. Recognition. I don't know what she can be, Emily said, but I'm not going to let Lucienne choose for her. She reached into her bag and pulled out a signal. Disruptor, Tyrell's design. One pulse and every audio and video feed within 100 meters would fry. She pressed the button. The lights above flickered. The speaker crackled and died. The girl didn't move. Emily opened the door to the observation room. "Are you sure?" Liam asked quietly. "No," Emily answered, "but we either kill what's left of him or change it." The girl watched as Emily stepped inside. "Do you know who I am?" Emily asked gently. The girl nodded. "Do you know what he did to you?" Another nod. "Then you know you don't have to be him." The girl paused, then finally spoke, her voice flat but articulate. "He said you'd try to make me doubt. I'm not here to make you anything," Emily replied. "I'm here to offer you a choice." Silence. Liam stood in the doorway, still aiming, still unsure. "Do you want to come with me?" Emily asked. The girl's expression didn't change, but her next words did. "Will you teach me to be more than him?" Emily blinked, and slowly, carefully, nodded. The girl looked down at the book in her hand, then closed it, and walked toward Emily. Liam lowered his weapon. It wasn't trust, not yet, but it was something. They called her Eve, not ECO1, not subject, not clone, just Eve. It was the name Emily chose, a name for beginnings, for something born in shadows but walking forward anyway. 3 days had passed since they burned the hospital to the ground, not with fire, but with light. Emily and Liam uploaded every document, every video, every confession stored in the hospital's network to a dozen secure newsrooms and whistleblower sites. It took minutes to go global. By the next morning, the world knew about Project HEIR and the experiments, the manipulation, the children. Emily Carter, once branded a terrorist and corporate saboteur, became something else entirely. A reckoning. Governments scrambled, investigations launched, names from Lucien's archives were arrested or vanished outright. But the world didn't learn the whole truth, because some truths were too dangerous. Eve was one of them. Emily sat across from her now in a safe house buried beneath the Catskills. Liam paced nearby, restless. He hadn't spoken much since they brought Eve here. Not because he was afraid of her, but because he wasn't sure what she was. Neither was Emily. The girl studied her like she was both mirror and myth. Her mind was fast, too fast. She spoke with precision, moved with intent. But there were moments, brief flickers, when she looked like what she was supposed to be, a child. "Why didn't you kill me?" Eve asked finally, her voice calm. Emily exhaled slowly. "Because he didn't get to decide who you are." Eve looked down at her hands. "He said I was built for a purpose." "He said a lot of things," Emily replied, "most of them lies." "Then why do I still hear him?" That stopped Emily. Because she understood. Lucien didn't need to live to keep speaking. His voice lived inside the trauma he shaped, the programs he wrote, the decisions he made years before anyone knew his name. Emily stood and walked to the small kitchen. She poured a glass of water and handed it to Eve. "You're not responsible for what he made you into," she said, "but you are responsible for who you become." Eve took the glass. "You think I can be like you?" "No," Emily said quietly. "I think you can be better." That night, Emily stood outside. Under the stars, Liam joined her. "She's dangerous," he said softly. "So was I." He looked at her. "Do you trust her?" "No." But she hasn't had a choice yet. She deserves one." Liam nodded. After a moment he said, "The last of the names dropped off the map. We hit every target Lucien seeded. The network is gone." Emily shook her head. "It's never gone. It just learns how to hide better." "So what now?" Emily looked out at the trees. "We stay ahead of it. We train Eve. We keep watching the world Lucien tried to rewrite, and when his echo rises again, and it will, we make sure it dies in silence." Liam stepped closer. "You think she'll choose the right side?" Emily finally smiled. "I think if she doesn't, she won't live long enough to regret it." There was no more fear in her voice, only purpose. Lucien Blackwell was dead, but the world he tried to create would take years to unwind, piece by infected piece. Emily, Carter had been framed, broken, hunted, betrayed, but now she was the one watching. Now she was the one choosing what would survive.